Welcome back to Golazo Match Night 48 Nations. Let's turn our attentions to Senegal, who got a win over Iraq to all but clinch a spot in the round of 32 in third place in their group, peaking at the right time in their group stage matches so far. Started a little bit slowly, but much better. Pap gave the star man with 2 goals in the game. For more on Senegal, let's chat to our African football correspondent, Mbizo Zamani. Mbizo, great to chat to you as always. Was this more like it from Senegal today?
Yeah, I mean, to a certain extent. Obviously, it was great to see them have a little bit more of a cutting edge, I think, in the game. But I still think that in the first half in particular, they delayed a little bit getting into that rhythm. I mean, it took them really, I mean, they scored, yes, of course, in the first half, but I think it really took them a really long time to get into the rhythm we expect. I still think they were a little bit casual and just a bit under what we come to expect of my AFCON champions. And again, 2 of the goals, the second and the third, I believe, came from mistakes, I think, from the Iraqi team as opposed to their own build-up and their own play. But then after that, the floodgates opened. I mean, I still think we'd like to see more, but it's delightful to see them get on the score sheet, obviously with the historic win. But again, I think we expect just a little bit more, especially if they're going to progress in the next stage.
Mbizo, it's just such a confusing time, right? Because on paper, on the surface, Senegal, they get 5 goals. It's a 5-0 win, albeit with a red card. I think they actually become the first African side to score 5 goals in a World Cup match. So check that box off. But there seems to be some more question marks than a bit more answers. When you look at the subs that came into this match, how would you just say they impacted this match? And what did you like about their play? And maybe what message would you say to Pap Thiaw of get some of these guys on the field?
I'll start with the second one, Mikey. I mean, for me, Ilman and Die, or as some people like to call him, Skillman and Die. I think for me, he has to play. He has to start. I think he gives them something a little bit different than what they already have. I mean, of course, they have quality players in practically every position, players that can impact the game, including Asana Diao. But you know, for me, he's the kind of player with his inventiveness, with his creativity, his vision, the way that he moves, his balance. I think he's something that they've really been missing. Although, I mean, you know, they were able to get on the score sheet before his entrance, but you know, Pape Gueye was able to play in the way that we recognize. Again, some of his goals from the AFCON, it was like deja vu watching those fly in against Iraq. But you know, for me, I would say to Pap Thiaw, you have to play Ilman Ndiaye. You have to play him. He has to be on the pitch. Make space for him somehow. I'm not really a big fan of Nicholas Jackson, I'd say, anymore, because I have been a huge advocate for him in terms of his movement and the way that he plays. But again, when he came on today, he was a little bit ineffectual for me. So, you know, I would really say that Ilman is a key player that has to play on a regular basis. And obviously, we know Pape Gueye, what he's capable of. So yeah, that's my thinking. I think what he really needs to do is start to talk to them about being casual. I think they're so good and they're so confident on the ball that they tend to be a little bit too casual. And I think that's something that they need to get rid of in their game, because that sense of urgency, particularly in transition from time to time, will be key for their victory.
Watching the games, I saw the France game, 66 minutes, they played well. Let's be honest, they played well. And then, of course, a team, we all know mistakes are made, and that's where goals come from. Then against Norway, a little maybe not as good, but in a tournament you've got to build. Do you not feel that they're building little by little in every game to get to a point where they're starting to play some better soccer? Because I saw the France game and I thought, wow, they were good. And then, of course, you got Mbappe, you got your things, but this is a team that seems to just be building little by little and gaining that confidence at the right time.
Actually, as opposed to building, I'd rather say that they're fluctuating, because as you correctly said there, they began very well against France. And obviously, when France changes gears, they can be almost unstoppable, which they have been, not just in that game, but since then. But then there was this incredible dip against Norway, a team who I think for a squad like Senegal is very beatable. And they just didn't seem to get out of their gears. And then now, again, all of a sudden, you get back to top form, although, again, in the second half, as opposed to jumping out of the gates in that fashion to begin with. So as opposed to this building from a poor performance to better and better and better, they're rather fluctuating. They begin well, they dip, then they dip again, and then, you know, they get better afterwards. And that's the concern with Senegal. And again, this casual nature of theirs, where they kind of dip in intensity, dip in form, and then all of a sudden we see it again. This is not something that's unfamiliar to me. I felt like they've done that in the last couple of big tournaments where we've expected a certain kind of team and they've come out in another way. And then once we've said, maybe this is not the Senegal that we're expecting, they then switch gears again. So, you know, this inconsistency, I guess is the word that I would use, is troublesome. I hope that this is the beginning of them getting into the gear that we expect of them, playing the quality of football we expect of them. But I think it's more of a fluctuation than a building, and that again is concerning.
And Mbizo, you've told us over the past couple of weeks that Senegal at the World Cup, not necessarily the most happy of camps, shall we say? And I'm putting that in. I'm phrasing it a specific way there. Is there a suggestion that because of this victory and the fact they're sort of settling into the tournament, that they're all pulling in the right direction now? What are you hearing from inside the group?
Yeah, I mean, we've all heard some of the reports that are coming out of the camp, maybe some unpaid bonuses, some unhappiness with some of the squad selections. But, you know, it's like I've said to many people, I think at this point in time, these are issues you need to put aside. You know, you're carrying a nation and actually really a continent on your shoulders. And so I think that your focus should really be on your performance and some of those, you know, internal issues, which don't sound to be focused around morale, but rather on some administrative issues. I think, you know, they should really just try to put those aside. And for certain, Adam, I believe that this victory will be a sort of impulse, making them perhaps believe again in their own potential. You know, and I think that will be key to lifting that morale and getting them out of this, I'd say, malaise. Perhaps it is because they've just won the AFCON. Maybe there is a lack of hunger. I'm not sure exactly what it is, but I think you're absolutely right that this can inject, I think, a little bit of passion, a little bit of fire, a little bit more aggression, and urgency, again, is another word that I would use that's key for them. And hopefully they can kick on and do something special, the kind of something special that we were really all expecting.
Okay, not quite sure of qualifying for the knockout round yet, but we'll have to wait and see over the next couple of days. And Mbizo, great stuff. Thanks very much for joining us here on Golazo Match Night 48 Nations. We're going to take a short break and we will preview the games coming up in Group G. Next, we've got New Zealand against Belgium, Egypt against Iran.